So again, quick recap. We deconstructed what a GoHighLevel acquisition system looks like, right? We have all these 4 metrics, which is throughput, bottleneck, yield, and latencies. I think these are more mental models to diagnose the performance of your acquisition system. Call it like a health check. And then you have these actual, this is more theory in terms of how to, this is more the actual theory. And then from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are the names of the processes involved in converting latent condition to attention through lead nurturing. This is the name of that process. Lead nurturing has many different steps involved with lead nurturing, but this is essentially what it is about, if that makes sense. So, yep, quick recap. Well done for paying close attention with me today. Half an hour in, going to take another sip of my coffee, and we're going to talk about the 7 mental models for funnel forensics. So, a system thinking toolkit for diagnosing, designing, and scaling acquisition engines with clarity and control. So there are 7 mental models. There's the North Star metric, nonlinear systems, statistical regression, validity before velocity, input versus structural scaling, bottleneck mapping, and then finally feedback loops, which are mind-boggling mental models that if you can truly understand, along with supported models, it gives you the lens, the language, and the leverage to engineer acquisition systems that don't just perform, they evolve. So this is what it looks like. 7 mental models. Okay, let's begin. You should remember this, guys. Right, you should remember this. The North Star metric, which helps you essentially focus on the one metric that defines success. So if it's within KPI, if this metric, performance indicator of the subsystem is within KPI, don't mess with it. Don't touch it. No touchy. It means it's performing what it's meant to be doing. It says 7, but there's only 6. That's annoying. Non-linear systems, right? So this is where things that, you assume that by doubling your input, it actually doubles your output, which isn't the case sometimes. It could break or it could exponentially increase. Typically with paid ads and outbound and those sort of things, like it does correlate where you run more ads, you spend more money, you tend to get more impressions, and you tend to get more output. But in reality, you're actually navigating, Facebook is sending your message to colder and colder audiences that don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you. Hence, your cost of acquisition will increase. So nonlinear system thinking, that's how we apply it here. Statistical regression, so it reminds you not to overreact to short-term streaks or dips. Right? You could have a really hot streak where you close 10 people in 10 calls, and then you could go 20 calls where you don't close anyone. But in reality, out of the 30 calls that you took, you had a 33% close rate, which is above average. I think average is like 25. So you'd be doing well. Validity before velocity, which ensures you act only on clean, high-fidelity data. God, you need your data. As someone who's a scientist before, the amount of shit I got for not having valid data, that'd be one of the marking points that I would be marked down for, because you need to make sure the numbers that you're seeing is crystal clear and is accurate based on what you are actually seeing in reality. Because if it isn't, your decisions will be based on delusional numbers that was presented to you just to look good. You need reality to smack you in the face and say, hey, our cost per lead is like $150. We should stop spending money on these ad campaigns because it's not giving us the numbers that we'd like. Okay, cool. Once you have validity, then you can focus on velocity. Input and structural scaling, which is essentially helping you distinguish between increasing activity and improving the architecture. So I think, there. More volume does not equal better results. So input scaling, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, in the nonlinear systems, when you run more paid ads, you tend to get more leads, right? In theory. However, when you get more leads, you need someone or something or some system that can handle the capacity of those leads. Hence, we call this structural scaling. You need to help distinguish between the two. Are you scaling structurally to handle the input required and the output, obviously? Do you have a model that allows for that type of scale? Because most businesses do, all businesses do. It's just how easy or how hard, how are you constrained with your skill and your time and your resources, or do you have the resources to scale structurally scale accordingly? Bottleneck mapping, which clarifies that your throughput is only as strong as your narrowest constraint. I think that is what's missing. Yes, I didn't discuss bottleneck mapping. So bottleneck mapping, as we discussed earlier, right, you can see the funnel gets thinner from top to bottom. There are bottlenecks in each of these stages that block people to move through, that stop people from moving through all the way to the end, right? This is what happens. You have throughput, then you have bottlenecks. Because the majority, not all 10,000 people that see your ad are going to click on it and fill out the form and book an appointment and then jump on a sales call and actually close. There are bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and friction points on each of these systems, which could be a good thing and a bad thing depending on who you want to attract in your acquisition systems. But just bear in mind, bottlenecking, unfortunately, not all systems are perfect, and this will occur, but that's okay as long as you can mitigate it with making enough money on the front end so that you can keep running the ads over and over again. If you find a system that you can put $1 in and make $4 out, I'd make that bet every time. Now, last but not least, we have feedback loops, which reinforces the idea that every result becomes the input for what happens next. And without feedback, you're flying blind. You're bird flying blind. So if I steal something from the local shopping mart, from the local shops, right? And no one tells me off, I'm going to keep stealing. Not that I do that normally, but you know what I'm trying to say? If there's no feedback loop, if I did an exam, for instance, at university, and no one tell me I did anything wrong, no one take me right, no one take me wrong, how would I know what is going well and what isn't going well and what I need to improve on? Because if you have no immediate feedback loops, whether it's positive or negative, how can you decide, what you're doing is good or what you're doing is bad? So kindly make sure that you are open to feedback, open to positive or negative feedback, and not tie your ego up in the numbers. Don't get too emotional with it. Just see it as logical. I struggle with this because I'm quite an emotional guy, but just see it as logical, critical ways in which that can make you better. And if you can get better, we can make the whole system flow easier. Cool. Enough of that. That's boring. Let's build our freaking 7-step subsystem. So we've discussed a whole lot of stuff. This is everything that we discussed over the last couple videos. I am so grateful and so thankful for your time and your effort and your energy and your attention. Just bear with me. This is the most important step. Because now that we've laid that framework, it's time to shift from theory into architecture. This is where strategy becomes structure and where insights turn into infrastructure. So think of your macro acquisition engine like a high-performance machine. Each subsystem, whether it's lead generation, nurturing, booking, or sales, is a specialized component. If one is misaligned or underperforming, the whole system suffers. But when each piece functions precisely, the entire engine runs smooth, predictable, and fast. Let's quickly remind ourselves of the foundations we've built. We understand systems now. What they are, the functions, the inputs, the outputs, the feedbacks, and the environment. We know how to design macro acquisition systems, mapping the full client acquisition journey as structured intentional processes. We've discussed micro actions and stimuli chain, right? So the micro actions people have to take and the stimulus that will help convert them, that will help push them through to the next micro action chain, right? Client acquisition and micro action chains. Goodness. These are the step-by-step movements from cold to converted. What input fuels the machine? So using the core 4, the content, outbound, paid, referrals, paid, and warm outreach, which is essentially referrals, to build and to drive qualified traffic, and then breaking it down from macro to micro, which is deconstructing the big picture into modular manageable subsystems, and then deconstructing the macro acquisition systems, which is assigning a clear transformation to each stage of the buyer's journey. Diagnosing acquisition systems in action, which is analyzing your systems through consistency, conversions, capacity, and clarity, plus through yield, bottlenecks, and latency. And then finally, the 7 mental models for funnel forensics. So a strategic toolkit for interpreting, optimizing, and evolving systems intelligently. Most marketers, they just stop, right? They stack tools, they patch together campaigns, they tweak landing pages without even knowing what's actually broken. But you're not here to patch, you're here to build. So today, let's discuss how to scale macro client acquisition engines, right? You must first master the craft of subsystem design, which is the modular, outcome-specific units that work independently and compound momentum when connected. Each subsystem serves one purpose: transforms specific inputs into targeted outputs and contributes directly to pipeline progression. Whether you're focused on lead gen, appointment booking, show rates, priming, conversions, the build is the same. At GoHighLevel University, we use a proprietary framework, the 7-step subsystem build, to design, test, and deploy acquisition infrastructures that is scalable, measurable, and anti-fragile. These systems, they don't just hold up under pressure. They get better because of it. So these are the 7 systems. We must first, step 1, define the core function and objectives. So clarify what the job is. right? What actually is the subsystem responsible for? Define the inputs it receives, the outputs it must deliver, and the key results it drives. Step 2, source and manage inputs. Secure the right inputs. Where do leads or signals come from? Where? Create systems to collect, tag, filter, and route them into subsystems consistently. Step 3, build stimuli behavior chain. So design for action, right? So you map the micro steps users need to take and create specific stimuli. So whether it's copy, UX, content offers, that prompt each behavior intentionally. The highest leverage, sort of like the easiest way you can do that is through offers. Like if you can create a banging offer, yeah, you'll do fine. Step 4, establish feedback loops and KPIs. Build in visibility, define your metrics, tracking cadence, and key KPIs. Make it easy to spot what's working and what's leaking and what needs intervention. Step 5, map the flow and operational logic. Create a visual representation. Show how everything connects from inputs to outputs, including tools, decision points, and humans versus automated actions. Step 6, deploy via tools and SOPs and automations. Operationalize the system. Build repeatability with software checklists, automations, and documentation, and make sure the system doesn't depend on any one person to run it. Oh my goodness. Key man risk. Like if you just have one good sales rep, one good appointment setter, one good customer success representative, one good media buyer, you are royally screwed in the bum. Because if that person left or quit or moved to your competitor, who runs the damn thing? This is what we call a massive, like key man risk right here. Then step 7, which is designing the human layer and ownership. So plug in the right people, define roles, KPIs, training, and accountability. Every system needs an operator, someone responsible for performance updates and escalations. This is your subsystem design worksheet. Work through it carefully and clearly. This is all the steps that you need to make this work. These 7 steps are not optimal. They are the building blocks. They're not optional. They are the building blocks of a scalable, anti-fragile acquisition system. Follow them and you won't just create better results. You'll create systems that actually that can be passed off, audited, and improved without chaos. To help you have and apply this clear framework in your own operations, we've created 2 core tools. The 7-step acquisition subsystem SOP, which is a step-by-step standard operating procedure to guide you through the full subsystem deployment process, from function definition to team deployment. So let me take a look at this. A fillable worksheet designed to help you document your thinking, clarify systems dynamics, and make your process repeatable across any subsystem. So this is the worksheet for you. Here's a strong, well-structured conclusion. Sorry, GPT helped me out. 7 steps. So this is, as well as GPT helping me out, as you can see, but the ideas are here and they're consistent. Most acquisition problems aren't tactical, they're systematic. To grow predictability, you need more than just a funnel. You need subsystems that are modular, measurable, and anti-fragile. These systems are not only withstand pressure, but improve because of it. The 7-step framework will help you design these systems. Each step walks you through the strategy, mechanisms, feedback loops needed to create processes that scale independently, adapt fast, and can be run by others. Whether you're building lead gen, nurture, or conversion systems, this gives you the blueprint to build once, evolve continuously, and scale sustainably. Let's get into it. So, number 1. Modular adaptive subsystems that scale predictably. Step 1, define the core premise. Like what is the purpose of this subsystem? Are you building attention? Are you building appointment setting? Are you building show up rates? Are you building priming? Like, what is it? Define the subsystem, state its core function, map key intents and intended outputs. Next, establish the input mechanisms. So identify or create input sources. So traffic, user signals, build an input management system, your CRM. GoHighLevel. Your tagging, your databases. Next, build the stimuli mechanism. So engineer intentional design and behavior through UX and messaging. Map the user's micro action chain. You have the example here, guys. Like I've sent it to you. It'll be in the description. Okay. Define the stimuli that drive each action. Create reusable assets and behavioral frameworks. So copy, visuals, layouts. Build feedback mechanisms. Ensure every action creates a visible, traceable data. Build data tracking. Use KPIs like smart metrics. Define a data tracking framework. So is it daily, weekly, monthly? Track it. Look at it. Determine valid testing. So volume for signal confidence. Link metrics to variables. So opt-ins and headline clarity. So you can have connecting variables to see if you increase this one, does it increase that one? How does it correlate to each of them? So like click to opt-in rate. That could be one. Develop if-then troubleshooting heuristics for course correction. So if there's ever any troubles or any problems, you can think of solutions to correct when metrics or systems aren't performing within KPI. Then step 5, we establish the flow, which is, documentation, the systems, the inputs, the stimuli, the outputs, include SOPs, links, and human machine handoffs. Then you want to establish deployment methods. So define every task, label tasks as humans or machine, assign machine tasks to the right tools and humans to the right tools, create a centralized SOP hub, write SOPs with checklists, screenshots, and troubleshooting steps. And then finally, you want to start recruiting a team that can do it all for you. Do not do this first. I've seen it too many times. They think, oh, I'm going to give it to someone to do. Do every single job. If you're starting out, it's just you, do every single job in your business until you know how to do it. So you can understand what people need to do, whether they're performing well on the KPI, whether they're doing as told. Like if I were to, I was doing cold calling for almost 9 months. Yeah, until I outsourced it to a colleague of mine, a friend of mine. And then I outsourced it again to a commission-based appointment setter that I could train, that I could teach. Now she's our best goddamn appointment setter in our company because I've had nearly 2 years of training with her. Hire based on execution, then train using the SOP hub. So this is all the steps involved with defining your core structure. So I'm not going to go into great depth. Please read through it, right? So you want to, same thing like I said, articulate the purpose, articulate the objective, define inputs and outputs, establish the input mechanisms. So what are you using to, are you using paid ads, websites, podcasts, ads, what is it? Define the stimuli mechanisms. So right from blog to opt-in to click to read to enter email to confirming opt-in to redirecting to the success page. That is an example of a micro action chain, right? Once you create the stimuli frameworks, right, what is the next step? You want to build feedbacks and metrics. So how you're tracking it, how you're making sure everyone's accountable to it. I like to give my team individual metrics that they're responsible for and they're responsible for improving. So that's how I hold them accountable. Determine tracking cadence. So are you doing daily, weekly, monthly? Define the testing volume. Are you doing enough? And then link metrics to stimuli. So drop in opt-ins, investigate headline clarity and call to action placements before assuming traffic quality. Then building troubleshooting heuristics. So develop simple if-then rules or flowcharts to aid decision making. So if the opt-in rate is 10%, lower than 10% for 7 days, review offer relevance and call to action test performance. Cool. Map system flow and operational logic. So visualize the system just as I did before with the micro action chain. Then build SOPs, stimuli references, and troubleshooting pathways along each journey. Deploy those systems via tools, SOPs, and automations. And humans. So humans, their nuance, their judgment, their personal touches. Machines, which are repeatable, scalable, and automated. Assign software and automations, such as these things, and then create SOP hubs like this, and this. Build, train, and transfer protocols. Define the roles. Once you do that, you want to recruit, manage the human layer. So define the roles, recruit, filter, and train, and then finally create accountability infrastructures. At the end of this process, you will have a clearly defined subsystems with measurable goals, a reliable pool of inputs, a tailored stimuli driving predictable user behavior, feedback loops that generate data, not noise, operational clarity via flows, SOPs, and tooling, a scalable deployment plan, and a trained operator or team with ownership and visibility. Whew! So that is the theory of building a 7-step framework for adaptive anti-fragile subsystems. Over here, I have a worksheet for you to do. So this is your 7-step subsystem design worksheet. You have to, if you have time, I ideally would appreciate it if you could, go through again, watch through the worksheets, read through the worksheets, print it out, write in your subsystem, your objectives, your inputs, right? Write in your input pools. How are you managing it? Right, in your micro action system chains, right? Your stimuli chains, your stimuli and frameworks, your tracking infrastructure. What are you using to track, right? Spreadsheets, metrics, other tools. What are your smart KPIs? What are your tracking cadences? What are your testing volumes? How much are you doing? Are you doing enough? What are your metrics, variable mappings, right? So metrics and variables. What are you comparing? Which metric ties to which part of the system? And if there's problems, what are the heuristics that you'll do to troubleshoot those issues? Visualize that flow. Document the notes. Give a list of tasks that can be repeatable. Define which, either is it humans doing it or is it machines doing it? Set up the automation tools, build your SOP hubs, build training materials needed, then hire, define your roles, go through the hiring process, screening, interviews, etc. Onboard and hold accountable. This is how you build your 7-step subsystem design worksheet. It is nuanced, it is deep, it is, oh my God, it is the best thing out there. I truly believe this. If you can build this, if you can translate what I just taught you into GoHighLevel, you came into this You came into this program not just to learn, but to build, not just to deploy tactics, but to engineer systems. By now, you understand what separates a funnel from a functioning acquisition engine. Funnels are linear. They follow templates. They rely on assumptions. But systems think in loops, evolve with feedback, and adapt under pressure. That's what it means to be an acquisition architect. You don't guess what's broken. You diagnose it. You don't rebuild from scratch. You isolate, refine, and reinforce. You now have the complete blueprint to do that. You've explored the foundational anatomy of systems, right? From inputs and outputs to feedback and environment. You've mapped your micro-acquisition flow and identified how each stage must shift the mindset of the buyer. You've broken down behavior into micro-action chains and stimuli chains. You've learned to fuel your systems with strategic inputs. You've diagnosed latency, bottlenecks, and throughputs using data, not guesswork. You've mastered the mental models. And finally, we've walked you through the 7-step subsystem framework, your operating system for designing modular anti-fragile infrastructures that can scale without collapsing. This isn't the end, it's your new beginning as a builder, not a borrower. As someone who can scale, not by hustling harder, but by designing smarter. Your systems are now your leverage. Your frameworks are now your defense against chaos, and your team can operate with precision, not panic. And the growth is no longer a gamble. It's an outcome designed by design. It's an outcome engineered by design. That was cool. Welcome to the world of acquisition architecture. Now go build something that lasts. Thank you for watching. Bye.